All right, we're going to talk briefly about Fabaceae. Fabaceae is an interesting little family. I quite like it because it's tasty. So let's go to the next slide here. We're going to skip the flower formula. Here's the flower. The flower has three parts to it. It has what's called the standard, which is this kind of flag part on the back. It's got the wings, these two petals here. It's got the keel, which is this kind of unified thing. It's extremely distinctive. If you see this flower, you're looking at Fabaceae. Banner, wings, and keel. Here's what the example of that flower looks like, right? Banner, wings, and then the keel is tucked underneath here. Again, this is a key characteristic here. The fruit's a legume, which means it has, basically think of a pea pod. That's a legume. And we won't talk about that. We won't talk about that. So, classic member of this family is the peanut, right? You got the banner, you got the wings, and the keel is tucked underneath there. If you crack open a peanut, it's really easy to see the different parts of the seed. They're great for learning parts of the seed. Albizia, that is to say, the mimosa. They're a really pretty tree. They are a bit weedy. They spread around your neighborhood very quickly. Their seeds like to grow in people's yards. The flowers are quite fragrant and the leaves close up at night, which is interesting, but they're not strong-wooded. They're kind of weak-wooded and they spread a little too easily for my taste. Regardless, they're a pretty tree. This is just a gorgeous tree. It's called Cercis canadensis, that is to say the western redbud. And the redbud is great because it flowers before it even leaves. So it's one of the very first things we see in the spring. And when I see these guys in the spring, I know warmer times are coming. Just a lovely little sight to see. Lupine, common range plant that is not healthy for livestock. You have to be very careful to avoid if you're a rancher trying to deal with some of these things. Astragalus, this is another spring flowering kind of thing. This is a photo I took down in Spanish Fork. They call it loco weed. In farmers and ranchers and things like that, we'll call it loco weed because if you eat a lot of it over time, it can cause neurological disorders in livestock. So it's a kind of a hazard for a lot of people growing things. And then our classic Pisum sativum, which is to say the garden pea. They used to eat these after they got fully mature and dried out. They would take the peas inside, they'd boil them up, make a mush, and eat it that way. Around Thomas Jefferson's period of time, they would start eating these like we eat them today, green, which is my favorite way to eat them. Medicago, that is to say alfalfa, an important crop in Utah. Lovely plant. Good for clover. I love clover because I grow this in my yard as my lawn. I mix it with grass. It takes a lot less water. It's more resistant to weeds, all kinds of things. You can find a four-leaf clover. Of course, it's unusual, but you can do it. But once in 2009, a clover was found that had 56 leaflets. I don't know how many years of good luck or how many centuries of good luck that brings, but hopefully a lot. We won't talk a lot about this. This is called sweet clover, Melanotis. Basically, if it's allowed to mold, it can make a chemical that's a blood thinner, which we now use as a medicine, but it can cause all kinds of problems for cattle that try to eat it. Common tree growing around here, Gladetia triacanthos, which is to say the honey locust, also belongs to this family. See these seed pods, right, that look a lot like pea pods, is because they belong to this family, Fabaceae. Indigofera, that is to say indigo, which is a common dye for blue. Very pretty plant. Doesn't grow around here. Acacia trees belong to this family. Wisteria, which, oh, geez, look at this picture of a wisteria. This wisteria is massive. I think it's the largest wisteria in the world. It gets these long chains of purple blooms that are just gorgeous. It's actually a vine. This one's just so old, it's basically got a trunk. Laburnum, a little poisonous, can cause some problems, but got these yellow chains. We've also got Gymnocladus dioica. We talked about the definition of gymno, meaning naked. Cladus means branch. This is the naked branch tree. The reason why they call it the naked branch tree is because it's one of the very last trees to leaf out in the spring and one of the first to drop its leaves in the fall. So this is a great tree to plant if you're planting a tree for shade during the hot months, but you want to see as much as possible other times of the year. This is a fantastic one. You can actually it's called the Kentucky coffee tree because you can take the seeds and grind them up and roast them to make a coffee-like drink. It doesn't taste, I don't think it tastes like coffee. A little bit, but it doesn't have any caffeine in it. So here's your keywords. I'll leave this slide open for just a minute to make it easier to pause as needed, but this is what you will study.